Hello and welcome back to another episode of Recommendations for My Otaku Spouse, or Otafu Susume. I'm Wes.
And I'm Jen.
So let's get this started. Wow, we're going to do actually 2 episodes this year.
It's a miracle.
Well, we're going to start with 2 episodes. But this time we're coming back with an anime?
I think it's an anime.
Well, definitely an anime.
Yes.
But kind of a movie and kind of a series.
It's very serious, yes.
Of course, it's about war.
And war
Actually,
never changes.
It's not really in this one, is it? Let's get to the details. We are doing another Gundam series.
Yes, this time we're going to be talking about GQuuuuuuX.
GQuacks.
That's what I said.
Mobile Suit Gundam GQuacks.
GQuuuuuuX. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really dumb name.
Well, the show is made by Gainax.
Guess this is what happens when Chunis get in power.
And the last robot thing they made that wasn't Evangelion was Darling in the Franxx, I think. So...
Okay, that explains a lot, yeah.
Actually, I think that was Trigger. This is the other half of Gainax. So this is made by Studio Kara, working with Bandai and Sunrise on a brand new Gundam.
Woo!
And to get people hyped for it, they've made a mashup of the first few episodes and put it into theaters as a movie called GQuacks Beginning.
And Wes decided to drag me along to see it.
Yes. Because the only reason you'd ever see a Gundam is if I forced you to.
Yes. I mean, the only Gundam I have seen is Origins. And Thunderbolt.
And Thunderbolt.
Yeah, I remember the names. Probably because they don't have dumb names.
Wow. So you don't think you'll remember GQuacks in a year?
I will now, probably.
Yes. Job well done.
Well, that's it. Thanks for listening to this episode.
So this review is going to be mostly spoiler-free. We are going to try to get this out before the big Western release of GQuacks Beginnings. Check your calendar to see if we did or not, because it's coming out in the West on February 28th.
Ooh.
Mostly spoiler-free. What are your thoughts on it? What were you thinking going in? What are you thinking coming out?
I expected it to be similar to Origins, with a lot of people standing around talking and a lot of politics thrown around. And it started that way, and then was like, you know, we're going to have this awesome Gundam battle and loads of action and fighting and space battles. And I was like, okay, this is fun. And then it got trippy, and then it was really good from then on. So I was actually pleasantly surprised by the direction it went in, and I enjoyed it even though I'm not a Gundam fan.
So really good from then on, but you were just saying you kind of enjoyed all those space battles and stuff in the first half. So you think it just kind of keeps ramping up as it goes through?
Not exactly, because I mean, the beginning, the first episode, it's the hook, right? They want to show you how cool this show is going to be.
True. And
how cool Char is. And he's very cool.
He is cool.
He is very cool, and he's even cooler in this than I thought he was in Origin. And it was just a lot of fun. But then there's kind of a turning point in the show.
Yes. And
then from that turning point onwards, it kind of gets more kind of slice of life-y, modern anime-ish, but it's still Gundam.
Yeah, very much so.
It's hard to explain without kind of spoiling things.
So, I mean, I guess we can say the basic is that there is a small time skip after the initial part.
Yes.
And that's when you start to get the GQuacks, which is the titular Gundam that we've seen the pictures of. They got the new Gunpla kit out for it. And that's also when the main character, Machu, who's the red-haired girl that we've seen in all of the material, shows up.
Yes.
Along with the others. And I remember specifically about Machu and some of the others because I was telling you before you knew anything about it, when I was just rambling about Gundams one day, and you were going, yes, that's very nice, that the character artist is the same one who does all the modern Pokemon character art, or character design.
Which you can definitely see.
Which you can definitely see. But the opening bit that you're talking about is set right in the heart of, well, not even at the heart, it's set at the kickoff almost of the 1 Year War. Like original Universal Century 0079
Nerd.
Gundam. Okay, fine. But all the stuff in that opening bit feels like old Gundam.
It does feel like old Gundam. Like from the old Gundam you've shown me, it feels like old Gundam.
Like it's nice and clean, but the character designs and everything feel ripped out of Origins, which was just a spiffed up version of old Gundam.
Except for one character.
The love interest.
Yes.
Which we'll get back to.
Okay.
Because I have thoughts. We got to talk about that.
Yeah, we got to.
But some of those characters stay past the time skip.
Yes.
So how do you think they blended them well, or do you think it feels like a massive disconnect?
I think they did blend it well. I think one thing I really liked about the time skip and the change in art style was it made it really feel like a lot of time had passed.
Okay.
Between that initial event and then like what's happening in the main part of the series. Not only because of the character designs, but also the types of characters you saw walking around. So like in OG section, you have a lot of pale-skinned men in charge of things. And then after the time jump, you have a lot of diversity. Like you've got one ship with like 3-4 women and a couple of black characters. Like all just being on the ship together, and it feels normal and natural. And you can definitely tell that I think it was a conscious decision to kind of bring it into the modern era, both in Gundam universe and in like anime meta universe.
In our world and their world.
Yes.
Yes.
So I really like that.
Yeah, it was interesting because, as you were saying, the love interest is kind of that tying character.
Yeah.
I think he's the last character you see before the time skip and the first character you see after the time skip.
And we found out changed his design from the original to kind of make it match that modern day look.
Yes. So, backstory, because we brought this up in other ones, I am quite a bit more familiar with Gundam than Jen, but I don't think I've seen OG Gundam in over a decade, and I don't go rewatch it all the time. And even though I mean to start reading the Gundam The Origins manga, I'm lazy and I haven't done it yet. So should we talk about the love interest?
Okay.
So the love interest in this case is Chalia, who, as I was shocked to realize afterwards, is actually a character from the OG Gundam. Not that you'd be able to tell from how he looked. He went from dapper old man to
Silver Fox.
Yeah, but still not. It's like I would still imply he's old. I won't even say he's old.
He's old. He's older than 13. He's like middle age, which in Japan makes him ancient.
That is true. It's actually really funny when you go back and you look at the ages of some of these characters, and you're going, he looks ancient. What do you mean he's 35?
Like Sid from Final Fantasy VII. He's 23 or something like that.
Or Ramba Ral from Gundam.
So old.
It hurts.
So I guess they matched his... I have no idea how old he's supposed to be, but I kind of imagine him to be like 40-ish?
Oh, you think so?
I don't know. Maybe?
Oh, I don't know, because Char's definitely not that old.
No.
Char's in like his 20s, and I felt they were really setting up this whole... So, okay. So in Gundam The Origin, the OVA that we watched,
yeah,
we both walked out of that saying there was definitely a rivals to lovers kinship going on between Char and Garma.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And this kind of felt like, okay, I'm out of school. I'm a lieutenant now. I'm the Red Comet. I need a non-schoolboy romance.
Yes.
And so now he's got Chalia Bull.
Yes, and he goes to him and he says, do you want to partner with me?
Yeah.
We can work so well together. And it was like, yeah.
We had this whole discussion over a glass of wine in his personal quarters.
Yeah. He's like, I need you.
Yeah.
I want you. I don't know how they're going to translate that, but...
Hopefully it's really gay.
Hopefully.
So now I got to drop the bombshell on you.
You mean the colony, right?
Yeah. Full Operation British all over this thing.
I am British, so that works perfectly.
Exactly. At this point in the timeline, I think Garma's still alive.
But, I mean, in Origin, Char only used Garma until, like, post-university, post-school.
Yeah.
Like, he never actually cared about...
But he hasn't revealed to Garma that he was just using him yet.
That's true.
Garma's still going, the Red Comet is my dearest rival. I need to do well in the military so I can show him up and always stay one rank ahead of him.
Well...
And he's off running around with Chalia Bull now.
Char's got things to do. Well, people to do.
Hey! So you're not into the whole love triangle Sankaku Kanke thing here?
Oh no, Garma's dead. Charlie Bull's my new best friend now.
Oh, okay. Just immediately throwing out the old model and grabbing the new one.
This is a new anime, Wes. We need new exciting love interests. And new BL. So, in that regard, it's interesting how Char is always the one involved in the BL, isn't he? Because he's best
Char
boy?
and Amuro, Char and Garma, now Char and Chalia.
Because he's best boy?
He is best boy. It's true. But sorry, I'm getting off subject.
And he's 3 times faster than anyone else.
I regret teaching the Gundam meme. Speaking of out with the old and in with the new, all of the mobile suits had a design upgrade or a design change. Maybe not upgrade.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Even the ones that you would think that you would know as a non-Gundam.
Yes. The first time I saw the Gundam that a character gets hold of, like the one that pops up first, I honestly thought it looked like, well, I mean, it looked like it was designed by someone who worked on Evangelion, which it was.
It definitely was. For big Gundam heads, the movie starts off with the invasion or sortie into Side 7, which in the original show is when Amuro first gets in the Gundam.
Oh, okay.
And that's where things start to diverge to make a new show. So,
because it's kind of an alternate universe type situation, isn't it?
Yeah. So we see a couple of Zaku's really quick. We see a Gundam. We see a gun cannon, a gun tank. And they
Lots
all
of guns.
Feel quite a bit different. But over the course of the movie, they kind of grew on me a bit.
You should get that checked out.
No, I'm my Gundam tumor is cancerous and keeps growing.
Oh,
I'm Gundam for life.
But yes, no, I did think the initial look of the Gundam was kind of dumb, but then they gave it a paint job and it looked way better.
Yes. Yeah, I saw the new Gundam look.
Actually, the GQuacks does kind of still look a little dumb. But I can see why they designed it the way they did, because Machu is the one piloting it, and she isn't like any other Gundam pilot.
Yeah, it's kind of got some Diebuster vibes to it, which I still need to show you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know what that is.
It's definitely more Diebustery than Gunbustery.
I don't know what
okay,
means.
Look. Kenny's going to understand what I mean.
Okay.
And he's our one listener, so it works out.
Okay, that makes sense.
But especially with the legs coming through it and some of the designs going through it, which unfortunately means it's also kind of Darling in the Franxx-ish. Because that also feels a lot like the Diebusters. But we're going to ignore that part because that show's horrible.
Yes. And anyone who likes it has terrible taste.
Yes. But, so to go back on what I was saying, the look of the Gundam came out before the show. They were kind of hiding it at the beginning. They were showing the GQuacks. And in one of the trailers, they showed a police Zaku and some general things like that. But the Gundam itself was kind of hidden until all of a sudden the movie came out. And because it's Japan, they released pamphlets for every movie. And people immediately put those up online, even though Bandai said, please don't.
Of course.
And from the artwork, I thought it looked really bad. I was like, I don't like the look of this. It's like a mix between an Eva and like it's got the colors of a Gundam, but it almost doesn't. It was just weird.
Yeah.
But in motion, I thought it worked a lot better.
Yes. Yes, on screen it looked a lot better than it did in any of the posters. Especially because I think you showed me one poster and I thought its shoulder or something was its head. And you're like, no, its head is here. But yes, it looks a lot better on screen than it does on paper. And
after it gets the paint job, I agree that I think it looks a lot better then too. So,
I was talking about the GQuacks.
Oh. Well, yeah, you did get the shoulder and the head confused on the GQuacks. But no, just for the
Gundam.
The regular Gundam.
Yeah.
There's two Gundams in the show. This is going to be confusing.
There's the GQuacks and there's the Gundam.
There we go. Perfect. And then there's a bunch of Zaku.
Your favorite.
Which is fantastic. Because I've always been of the opinion that mobile suits peaked during the 1 Year War. And the further away you get from the 1 Year War, the worse the mobile suit designs are.
But Gundam Unicorn went. The face he's pulling is rather amusing. I'm just going to have to say that.
I went and looked at the Gundam Unicorn at Daiba. I saw it light up. It's fine, I guess. But
if you're into that kind of thing.
But part of what makes Gundam Unicorn work is a strong silhouette. It's not overburdened with a bunch of
bullshit.
Tat.
Right, yeah.
And that's, I think, what makes a lot of the 1 Year War designs work, is that they're just strong, simple design. And so because this is all CGI now, they could add stuff to it. So even though I'm first looking at the Zaku and go, what's all these fiddly bits? They didn't overload it with a weird paint job where every fiddly bit is a different color. And in motion, it still works really well. So I like that, because I like...
In disguise. Actually, speaking of Zaku, there was a really funny bit where... I mean, I could... Because we were in a Japanese cinema, we couldn't talk. Because
we shouldn't talk in any theater.
You couldn't, but it's more socially acceptable in America to kind of maybe whisper. But in Japan, it's like, no, you do not talk. You do not make any sound. So I was trying really hard not to make snarky comments. But there was a cute bit where Zaku, like, its eye changed color and I could feel Wes next to me going, ee, really quietly.
Yes. So I'm sitting here geeking out as the Gundam fan. And there's a lot, especially in this opening bit, which is set during the 1 Year War, for Gundam fans. A lot of the background music is straight out of the original show. There's a bunch of visual cues. There's just a lot in there that you're going to go, oh, cool, I remember that. It's very nostalgic without just hitting the keynote. Which makes me then want to ask you, because we talked about this a while back during our Gurren Lagann podcast. And we were talking about how well a movie works for someone who's not familiar with it. They go through a lot really quickly at the beginning. How did you handle that as someone who, as we said, only knows Thunderbolt and the Origins?
Well, I think because you showed me Origins, that helped a lot. I would have probably got it, but not have got it if you hadn't shown me Origins, if that makes sense. Because Origins had like the whole thing with Shah, how he came to power, the whole thing with Operation British. Wait, that was Origins, wasn't it? Or was that Thunderbolt?
No,
that was Origins, yeah. And because it had all of that, I had a pretty strong understanding of what had happened in the Gundam universe up to the point where this one started.
Okay.
I think if I hadn't had that, like if I had only seen Witch from Mercury Witch from Mercury, isn't it?
That's one of the most recent ones.
Yeah, that's one of the most recent ones. Or if I'd only seen like Unicorn or something like that, or Wing, I don't think I would have had as much context because I haven't seen them, but I get the feeling they don't actually touch on any of that old stuff.
No. Unicorn is set in the same universe. Wing is set in a different universe. And I don't actually know what universe Mercury's set in because I still haven't watched that yet. So definitely Wing wouldn't have helped you.
No.
Because it's entirely different.
So I think, yeah, having Origins gave me a good understanding of the origin of this series.
But so Origins gives you a really good setup as to why Zeon started the war and why Shard...
They didn't start the war. They were just defending themselves.
That's true. And why Shard is doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
But because of kind of the nature of this show, they then hit you really quick with what would have been like, 20 episodes or so in a quick little montage.
Yes. I think they give you the key information that you need to kind of understand where the political powers are at that point. That was actually, I was confused about why some things were happening, and I asked you afterwards, like, was that in the original series or was it not? And you had to be like, no, okay, this was, but this wasn't, and this was new timeline, origin type thing. And so I was a little confused about why some things were happening, but I think I had a stronger understanding of the overall premise than I would have if I hadn't seen Origins.
Well, I'm glad I showed you Origins.
I admit to nothing.
Hey, you said you liked that when we did the podcast. I've got it on tape.
Dang it. But how about you? How about what were you thinking when you went? Were you expecting to like it? Were you as a big fan? Because you said you haven't seen Witch from Mercury, and I feel like you're almost not watching out of spite now.
So, Witch from Mercury is on my watch list. It's not my turn off this podcast and go watch it immediately list, but it is on my watch list. And I think one of the things that initially turned me off from Witch from Mercury, as shallow as this is going to sound, is the Gundam design. The Gundam aerial from Witch from Mercury, when I first saw it, didn't feel like a Gundam to me. I was getting more vibes from other things, like maybe a Eureka 7 or something like that. And so that put me off. And then also, I was just hearing that it was like some sort of high school thing, and they happened to slap Gundams into it, and I was never the biggest Wing guy either, and that's all about broody teenagers. So mentally, I was kind of like, I don't really know if I care. And then a few people told me it's actually pretty good, which bumped it up on my list.
Which is why I was surprised that you actually wanted to watch GQuacks, because it had the same thing. It had a weird-looking Gundam. It had a teenager piloting it. I thought, like, my first impression, just from looking at the poster, was, oh, this is going to be the same as Witch from Mercury, and you're not going to want to watch it. And then you were like, oh, I'm going to go out and buy the Gundam for this. I'm going to go out and buy the model for this GQuacks.
Which I got day of release.
Which you got. You had to fight a couple of kids for it, but you got.
Last one in the store.
So I was actually surprised that you wanted to see this. Like, was there a particular reason why you wanted to see this, but not Witch from Mercury?
1 Year War.
Ah! Okay.
I am more likely to try something the closer it is related to the 1 Year War again. Because, that's why I showed you Thunderbolt, which is set during the 1 Year War. That's why I showed you Origins with a precursor to it. And I knew somehow that Char was involved. And I'm going, this makes no sense for me whatsoever. And then also, when so this was after the model kit came out, before we went to see it. When the GQuacks model kit was released, Japanese Twitter went crazy with it. And you can't go on to, or you couldn't go onto the hashtag for GQuacks without seeing people doing their own original spin on it. And I feel like I haven't seen that for a Gundam model before.
Yeah.
Like if you go look at the Ariels or the Calibans or whatever from Mercury, people are doing cool things with them. They've got all sorts of different options for lighting and all that kind of stuff that I've seen some really cool model kit builds that people have done for them. But they're usually more canonical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think because this one is that departure, because it's got the whole Studio Kara, Evangelion, Gainax influence so strongly, as soon as this model kit was released, people were going nuts and just doing all sorts of different with the model. I've seen it painted standard. I've seen it as every different Evangelion. I've seen people go in and start mixing in other kits so they can give it different sets of ablative armor. Just anything possible you can think of to do with a kit, people are doing with this kit. And so every day I was seeing something new and cool involving it, which parts of the kit parts of the GQuacks look really weird. But seeing it in so many different ways and seeing people get so excited for it, I felt more excited about the show as well.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it was a mixture between general interest because of Char and the 1 Year War and just kind of that building feeling of hype from the community.
Hype.
Which, people were excited about Mercury. People kept I think it was coming out on Wednesdays or something, and so you'd see hashtag like Suletta Wednesday or something for the main character. And she's drawn as a tanuki everywhere for some reason. But I never really felt the same bubble around it.
I wonder if it's because people are getting excited about the main character for Wish from Mercury instead of the Gundam. Whereas this time they're getting excited about the Gundam, and you identify more with a Gundam than you would with a middle school girl or high school girl or however old they are.
I think they say she looks like a middle schooler, but she is a high schooler. So she's small for her age, but she is a high schooler.
Which one?
Machu.
Okay.
GQuacks. So speaking of which, there's kind of a trio main characters, Machu, Nyan, and the third one.
I don't remember any of their names, so...
Well, I just told you two of them.
Yeah.
How did you feel about them? Because we talk about character design, but...
I like them. They, again, I think they felt modern. They felt like modern anime characters, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you have, like, the typical shonen hero, incredible optimist, but, kind of dumb type character trope. And then, which is kind of more the Amuro, I feel. And then you have the modern day shouty, angry type protagonist. And then you have, actually, I guess that's kind of the only two that you have.
So it's interesting, though, that you describe them as modern anime characters, because I was thinking one of the reasons I liked them so much was that they weren't modern.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is they felt like a new kind of modern, a new type, you could say.
Hey.
Because they felt like real people. They each have their own distinct personalities. And Machu definitely has ADHD, which I guess is kind of also a stereotype in female protagonists if we look at Brand New Animal and things like that. But it felt like they are easier to kind of connect with a younger audience rather than like the typical, we're going to save the day with friendship kind of attitude. Although Machu does kind of slightly have that. No. She only gets distracted about the things that she cares about. Yeah, she definitely has ADHD.
I never really got the whole shonen hero vibe from any of them.
No.
Which I liked.
Yeah.
I liked the fact that the two girls weren't just moe blobs.
Yes.
They have an actual personality. They kind of stick to it and act in a way that seems interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know how they're going to change over the series because we've only just seen the first couple of episodes, but I'm intrigued.
For everything bad I've ever said about Gainax, they're actually pretty good at character growth. I think even if you go back to, like, if you're looking at Evangelion, the original one, you look at Shinji at the beginning, and Shinji, he's got a whole arc. If you look at Noriko from Gunbuster and the characters in Die Buster, if you look at the characters in Circumstance, Katekano or whatever, it's...
Don't forget Gurren Lagann.
Gurren Lagann, yes, that was one of the late Gainax before they splintered. They're good with characters. So, as much as it hates me to say it, even though Hideaki Anno is credited for some of the script work, I'm feeling positive about it. Cautiously optimistic.
I think there's been a bit of time since we've talked about... I don't think you've actually talked about your dislike of Hideaki Anno on the podcast.
Oh, that's true. I just ragged on him at a convention once.
Yeah. I mean, I was never a big Evangelion fan. And it's kind of bloated by the fans, as fans do. But from the sounds of it, his latest works have been kind of not great either.
I didn't like Eva 4, I didn't like Shin Ultraman, and I didn't like Shin Kamen Rider. And I saw the NHK special on making Shin Ultraman, and I thought it made him like an asshole.
Just for context.
Just for context.
Actually, I think that was another reason why I was surprised that you wanted to see this, because he was involved. But I guess it's a good thing that he's only involved as a producer and not actually a showrunner.
He's credited as doing some work on the script.
Yeah, but knowing producers, they always are, but they're not.
But seeing as he is an old head otaku, I'm wondering if maybe he just did the old One Year War bits and not the new bits.
I don't know.
Because like I was saying, I guess one of the biggest cuts between old bit and new bit I could say is old bit is more die-bustery, or old bit is more gunbustery and new bit is more die-bustery, which is a Guy Next reference that I'm going to show you Gunbuster and Die-Buster. We'll get to this, trust me.
Okay, I look forward to that episode at some point. So one other thing I noticed during the episodes? Movie? Yes, the whole thing, was the English text. There was a lot of English.
Yeah, it just kind of popped up on the screen here and there where it would be appropriate. And
it was actually good English.
Barring one word, yes.
I missed that one. What was the word again?
It should say analysis, but it says analysis, where they put an R instead of an L.
A very common problem for Japanese people. But apart from that, like, the English was actually really freaking good. And every single time it came up on the screen, I was like reading it to see what it said. Because, okay, as somebody who works for a Japanese company, they are really bad about Googling, spell checking, and cultural checking English. And so when I actually saw accurate English for the context that was mostly spelled correctly, I was pleasantly surprised.
And I get that. And it's because there's a lot that you'd think as well. Like, I'm going to give a really dumb example here. But every time we get on the bus, there is a sign on the side that says, please no eating or drinking while in the bus or something like that. And it's fine and it makes sense and it's English and okay. But every time I look at it, an English sign never asks you please.
That's true.
It would just say no eating on the bus. And so it's little things like that are the cultural differences. And this hit it.
Yeah.
It felt like English.
And they credited a translator in the credits as well, which makes me think that they were obviously working with a native English speaker in order to kind of work this out, I'm guessing.
Which is pretty cool, because a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Yeah, a lot of times.
I know you're a big proponent online for translators in the credits.
Yes, that too.
And I definitely agree with that. I just don't talk online. So when we see something like this, it does feel good to call it out because it's good to see they're doing it, and it's good to see that it did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And it made GQuacks feel better because the English was correct.
Yeah.
It's not going to be stuck up on an example of English and anime.
Actually, speaking of that, it wasn't just the English, but the overall quality of the show felt really polished. Like, even opening a door felt realistic. It felt polished. Like, one character opens a really heavy door and you can feel in the way the character moves that it's a really heavy door. Or I remember one where he opens a door from one side and the camera's on the other side of the door and you see the mechanism of the door kind of click into place and then slide. And it was just really cool that they weren't just focusing on making the robots look cool.
Which they did.
But everything else. Everything felt real. It felt alive. It felt human. It just felt really good to watch overall.
It did. Most of the show takes place in a colony. And so you get everything in the show is man-made. You're not going to have any of the natural bits. And every bit of it feels intentional. They're not just drawing gubbins on the screen because we need something to fill this space.
They thought about what would go there.
Yeah. Especially an older anime. And this is going to sound like an old head thing again, but I'm running with it. When you watch a bunch of older 80s, 90s, especially mecha anime, I mean, even you'll watch the original Macross and things like that, it's clear that people working on them grew up building model kits of planes and ships and everything because all the little technical bits are so finely detailed and they all feel like that.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you watch a Ghibli movie and the planes and the airships are just very well put together and very detailed, just because Hayao Miyazaki is a massive plane nerd.
Yeah, he wrote so many articles in different model airplane and model tank magazines, and then he just was like, oh wait, I gotta put characters in this to make a movie about them? Okay, let me draw a couple of pigs. But I love that detail. So it's great to see it in a modern show as well.
Yeah.
And not, as you said, just on the Gundam.
And honestly, this is another recommendation from me to you that I need to make you do, and then we'll record a podcast about it, but you need to read the Expanse series. Because after we finished watching this, I was planning on reading a fantasy novel, and instead I was like, I want to read the next Expanse book.
I need sci-fi.
I need sci-fi. I need more sci-fi. I need this. So I downloaded the 6th Expanse book, and I'm reading it now because of this anime movie, and I blame you entirely.
That's okay.
Especially because there are things that happen in the Expanse series, which reminds me of Gundam, and I'm like, Wesley, read Expanse, I want to talk to you about it! Ah!
I read the first one.
I know, but that was...
a decade ago.
Yeah, 9 years ago. Ah!
So, GQuacks.
GQuacks.
We've seen the movie.
Yes.
Ish. Whatever it is.
The first 4 episodes.
Is it going to make you want to jump right into the series when it comes out?
Yes.
Would you be willing to rewatch the episodes that made up the movie to see if there's more added or differences or anything like that? Or would you just want to skip those and jump in a few episodes in?
I think it depends on when they release it. I think I'd be good to jump straight back in because it has kind of burrowed into my memory and I actually remember what happens, I think. So I think I'll be safe, personally. But if you want to rewatch it, I will rewatch it because it was fun.
I'm going to rewatch it.
Okay, then let's rewatch it.
I like ropes. Do you think that more anime would benefit from something like this?
Oh, releasing like a 4-episode mashup movie type thing?
Like, to pick another original one, because I'm counting this as original even if it's part of a series, Dungeon Meshi. If they had done Dungeon Meshi as an hour and a half release in a theater, do you think the show would have benefited from it?
No. I think this benefits from doing that because it's Gundam.
It's got the fan base.
And you know people are going to go see it. Like when Sonic 3 came out,
yes,
we tried to see it. We tried to see it in the cinema and we could not find a non-Japanese dubbed version of it anywhere.
There was one subs showing at like 9 a.m. on the other side of town.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
And even then, the dub versions of it were few and far between.
Like maybe 3 showings a day.
But for this, we saw it 2 weeks after it came out, and on a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday.
And there were, 6 showings?
6 showings.
On a Wednesday.
At one of the 3 main theaters in Umeda. And then it was still showing at every other theater in Osaka as well.
2 weeks after it came out.
2 weeks after it came out.
Which is insane.
Now, admittedly, the theater wasn't full.
No.
But it was still full enough that they were running 6 shows a day.
Yes.
Which was crazy.
Yeah. So I think they knew people were going to go see it. And probably go see it multiple times because it's that good. But I don't think every anime would benefit from that. They'd probably end up just losing money. I'm intrigued to see what the Western release is actually going to be like. Because normally anime films get released in like hipster cinemas.
Or they get like that really limited run type thing.
Yeah.
Like we're doing a 1 show on a Thursday, see it or miss it forever thing.
Yeah. So I wonder how they're going to release that in the West. And then I'm wondering how they're going to release it afterwards. Like, is it just going to be on television? Are they going to release an episode a week on Netflix or what?
Oh, I don't know where Sunrise releases it. I think it's a Crunchyroll for Mercury.
Oh, yeah, but I mean in Japan. Oh. I don't care about America. I want to know how I'm going to see it.
We're talking about the West.
That's true. I did jump the conversations.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Crunchyroll because they have their little paws in everything right now.
I don't know where Mercury came out over here. It definitely wasn't on Netflix.
I thought it is on Netflix.
I think it might be now. I don't think it was weekly.
Well,
we'll have to find it out.
We'll find it. We'll find out. I mean, if it's on TV, we can set up the timer to record it while we're asleep. And then
yes.
Benefits of living where they actually air things on television.
What a surprise. So, we saw a new Gundam with an unpronounceable name.
Yes. Actually, I did like they made a joke about that in the show itself.
They do call it out. That did feel good.
Yeah.
Because everyone's talking about it online.
Yeah.
But then they also explain where the name comes from.
Yes.
In that same scene, which I thought was really cool.
I learned something new.
Which is surprising.
What, that I learned anything new? Or I learned anything at all?
No, the Gundam teaches us things.
Oh.
It's just about giant robots doing cool stuff, right? It has no deeper meaning.
Sure. Yeah.
But anyway, so we saw a Gundam.
We saw a Gundam.
We enjoyed a Gundam.
We did.
And we're going to watch more Gundam.
Yes.
So my Gundam experiment with you has been a success?
Well, okay, how many Gundam series are there? And I've only seen
2.5 now.
And a half. Well, a quarter, if it's going to be a 12, 13 episode series.
But you're a Gundam fan now, is what you're saying.
Well, I can't name the Gundams like you can.
You were
making
Gundam puns.
Drop the historic wars, history year thingies or character names.
You know Operation British.
Well, that's because it's named after me.
I've converted you into a Gundam fan.
No.
You heard it here first, people.
I deny this.
Let everyone who listens to Otafu Susume know Jen is now officially a Gundam fan, so long as it involves Char, and she can ship him with a pretty boy.
I mean, that is true.
Excellent. She said it.
God damn it.
We're cutting it right there.
You tricked me.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Otafu Susume.
Heresy. I deny everything.
I hope you go out and you enjoy GQuacks. If it is getting a limited show, try to make sure you see it, because it is a visual feast on the big screen.
Definitely.
And if you miss it in the theater, definitely watch it at home.
Yes.
I've been Wesley.
And I was Jen.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Recommendations from My Otaku Spouse.
Or Otafu Susume, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye!
Bye!